The first time I watched When Harry Met Sally, I was at a stranger's house with some other romantic strangers, and I only caught the end of things. He says, "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and the thing is, I love you." To which she replies, "I hate you, Harry." I ask, why does she hate him so much? A romantic stranger answers, because she doesn't hate him. She wants to hate him. This complex internal tension between levels of desires is characteristic of us folks. Some, that is. Others just do things, have reasons, but don't seem to be too reflective about the kind of people they are. Harry Frankfurt says, "It might have been expected that no problem would be of more central and persistent concern to philosophers than that of understanding what we ourselves essentially are." What's a person? Is it possible for non-humans to be persons, and for humans to not be persons? Take the inconsiderate bear that eats only fish eggs when salmon is plentiful. Should this bear be ashamed of the kind of bear person he is? According to Frankfurt, the difference between persons and non-persons is found in the structure of the will, not in just having motives, desires, and making choices, but in having motives, desires, and choices about your motives, desires, and choices, in choosing what kind of person you want to be. Desires are complex. They can be non-decisive and weak. They can be unconscious. We can be mistaken about them. They can be phantoms that rattle our epistemic faculties. Sometimes the internal becomes manifested in the external, as in the case of St. Anthony's vision where he tussled with the devil. So we'll focus on a specific type of desire, desires that motivate us to do things, whether consciously or subconsciously. According to Frankfurt, the kind of desires constituting the will have to be motivating. This means that the will is identical with the set of first-order affective desires. An affective desire is one that moves someone toward an action. This can be as simple as being motivated to eat, or more complex, like being motivated to lie, or being motivated to repent. What seems peculiar to the human is the formation of second-order desires and second-order volitions. Let's distinguish all of these using an example. To be moved by love. This is nice. It's the first-order desire for all that fuzzy stuff. Most like it, but some just don't get it. But they want to. They want all of that fuzzy stuff. They want to know what it's like to be moved by love. But they don't really want love to move them all the way toward action. They know an awful lot about what happens with love. In other words, you don't want the desire to be effective, for the desire to move you all the way toward this. You only want it, but you don't want to have it. You don't want love to be your will. This is a second-order desire. It's like a faint wish to have a certain will. To summarize, first-order desires are desires to do things, but second-order desires are desires for desires, which do not motivate someone to act. But what if you want all of the fuzzy stuff? You want the desire to move you to act. This is a second-order volition. You want love to provide the motive for what you actually do. According to Frankfurt, if you want the fuzzy stuff to move you to action, it entails that you already have the desire for the fuzzy stuff. The logical entailment that you can't both have a second-order volition but lack the first-order affective desire is clear. But the empirical question is, can the second-order volition be transformative? By having a strong enough desire for a desire to be effective, can you change a first-order desire? Or can you only have the second-order desire to be effective if you already have the first-order desire in your desired toolbox. We want to distinguish between two cases. The first case, transformative second-order volitions. Take Philippe Petit, terrified of falling 1 mile down from the tightrope, knowing that if he steps on the rope, it could be his death, having the first-order desire to get out of there and just have a cappuccino, but gathering himself, rebelling against his first-order wants and transforming them, desiring to desire to get on that rope. The second case of volitions, a coincidental second-order volition. I am born a jerk, I desire to be a jerk, and I desire to be a jerk, and I continue identifying with my desires. I am a willing jerk. Frankfurt says, for some, the agreement between second and first order is easy. For others, self-reflection is not a possibility. But he doesn't take into account the roughneck, gritty process of transforming your will. The overall question for persons is, what kind of will do you want to have? If you're thinking, who cares about the desires about the desires about the desires? Shame on you. You should care about your will. If you don't, you're what Frankfurt calls a wanton. You are moved this or that way by first-order desires. The existentialists have a nice term for this. You drift. But it doesn't mean you're irrational. You're just not really concerned with the desirability of your desires. But what controls if you're a wanton, if you have second-order volitions, if you have multiple-order volitions? At a certain point, it may not be up to your choice. At a certain point, the structure of your personhood is beyond your personhood, beyond your control. Or is it? The question I leave you with is, can you teach personhood? Can you teach someone to become reflective, to become transformative?